Hello, hello, Sparkle Sisters. How are you on May 15th, 2024? I am so excited that we're hanging out together. I forgot that I can live stream in, so hopefully we've got this right. I'm going to bring this up, make sure that I'm in the right place. I wonder who's going to be the first to be able to log on. And then also let me know where you are zooming in from. Y'all know it's been so fun because we have gone global. And did y'all know, because y'all have been sharing this like crazy, I did just take a look at this and unbelievable. Like every week, there's like between 1,700 and 2,500 people that listen. What? So thank you for all of you all that share with your friends, and thank you all for all of the kind notes and what you're hearing. Today we are about erasing and replacing, right? And we are about a little glitter, right? So anybody that does not want to join you on your journey, they do not understand that you are called to leadership. They do not understand the way that you operate. We just wipe their name off the board. We say, bless their little hearts. They're doing the best they can. And then, of course, you squirt yourself with some glitter. And so this is really fun to be able to have. How many of y'all have got at least one person in your life that you need to kind of wipe out of on the board, right? Doesn't mean you need to wipe them out of your life. Sometimes they are really close family members, but how many of you all need to put some boundaries up on people sharing what they think you need to do with your life, right? Does anybody have at least one of those people in their lives? So let's see who all is on here with us. So welcome to everybody. Hi, Deborah, Susan. We've got Marcy on here. We've got several others. Just put your name and where you're from. And we're going to finish up, which I talked about last week, was some 7 tips, I think, to what I would consider servant leadership. The way that you serve other people. It's not necessarily what we do, it's how we think. And then next week on the 22nd, I have my lion chaser girlfriends on with me. Yay! Y'all have heard me talk about several years ago. There were about 5 to 8 of us that got together every Wednesday morning, and we just truly did life together. We started with the book Chase the Lion, and then we just kept doing more books. And the transformation of that is so cool that many of those gals that were in that group with me, I now get to help lead them as a student leader at church. What a great thing. So, like, I know their mom's heart. I know what they wanted. I've been praying over these kids for years, and now we get to go through that. So, welcome. Hi, Belinda. Hi, Susan. Hi, Bonnie. Glad that you are here. And so, what I want to start with, last week we talked about intent. We talked about the thoughts. How many of you all realized you needed to quit sharing your baggage with your team, right? And your family and your kids? How many of y'all know that? That is a big deal. Hi, Sonia. Glad that you're on here with us. And so today, number 3, so we did intent and thoughts. Number 3 is a clarity on your job description of whatever it is you're doing, whether it is your business, whether it's your nonprofit, your ministry, the way you run your home, the way you volunteer. I think that one of the things that causes so much anxiety on both sides is not being clear on what is a good day, what is a good week, what is a good month, what is it, what is it that you need to do, what is your job description. I remember when I first started my business, I remember going to my, I was still in the Air Force at the time. I remember going to my boss and I remember saying, what is my job description? Like, I'm working 12-hour days, I'm gone 10 days out of every month. And yet, I really don't know what my job description is. I know that if things break, you're looking at me. I know that I'm doing a lot of things that when I started this, I had no idea that this was going to be my job. And I need to be really clear on that because here's what I know. As a believer, I want to give you 100%. Like, whenever I am here, you're going to get all of me. That's how I am. You're going to get all of me. My 100% is probably 200% more than everybody else's. But what I don't want to do is everybody else's job. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? How many of y'all, your boss found out that you were good at what you're doing? And I mean, every time you turn around, your job description keeps getting changed. Now, your paycheck doesn't change, right? Your title doesn't change. Your influence doesn't change. But what does change is the amount of time that you're putting in. And so I see that all the time with those of us who are Sparkle Women, because we do a great job. everybody wants to work with us and everybody wants to hire us. Do you know why? Because we do the and then some. So what I told my boss is, look, I really want to serve you in this job. I want to do the best job available. What I know that I cannot do and I will not do is do everybody else's job. So we really sat down as a crew and we figured out what was Bruce's job and what was, I can't even remember his name. He was so mean. I can't remember his name. And then what was my job? We were in a in a volunteer duty assignment. It was all cloak and dagger. We couldn't tell anybody where we worked, what we did, anything like that. And so we really had we had an unlimited budget. We really could design that. Now, normally in the military, it's not like that, but we were in a particular position that we were able to do that. So let me tell you what happened. For y'all that are desire to grow your business or your ministry or your nonprofit, or you're wanting to volunteer more, whatever it is that you desire more of, and you keep saying, I can't do it because I don't have the time. I believe, and I've talked to y'all already about this, we're not going to go through, but talking to your spouse, your kids, your parents, what makes me a good wife, a mom, a daughter, whatever that is. So we talked about the amount of time that cleared up because you're spending a lot of time doing things that people don't want from you. It's the things that you think that make you a good wife, mom, daughter, and it's not what they need. And you're not giving them what they want. So they are not even appreciating what you're doing. So when you do that, in most cases, you're going to clear up 4 or 5 hours anyway. So now this is like a deeper level on this. Hi there, Marlene. Hi, Lydia. Hi, Summer. Hi, Dagmar. Glad you're on with us today. So when you look at your job is maybe go to your HR, go to maybe go, if you're in ministry, go to whoever your boss is and get clarity. Like when you think of me and my job, first of all, tell me what the job was designed. What need did this job get designed to fill? What's the expectation? Without me in it, when you look at this job, what needs to happen here so that the mission can be met? Right? Because I'm a team player. I want whatever I'm doing, I want us to succeed abundantly, exceedingly more than you could ever want, right? But when you were designing out job descriptions, why do you even have this job? Okay, so I think going to your boss and asking that, what is the clarity? Now, this is my job title, but what really was the job designed to do? Now, I will tell you, it's a little feisty. You know, my favorite F words now are fun and faith. That was not my go-to word back in the day, nor was anybody that I worked with. And I will tell you, it got hot. And because whenever our sergeant started telling us, okay, well, this is your job description, and this is your job description, this was your job description. What I realized was I was doing a lot of their jobs. And I wasn't even doing that good of a job in my job because I was always doing their job. Or whatever was the loudest, I was the go-to person, or I was the person that would stay later. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't think they intentionally did that. It just was convenient because they knew if something happened, Sumter was going to do it. And so what happened is I was the one going home emotionally exhausted, physically exhausted, gone all the time because if something needs to be done, I'm going to do it. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? And they really took advantage of that. You know, I found, the guys they were getting out of there at 4:30 and they were going to work on their cars and all of that. And I can remember when we sat there at the table. It was so funny. They're like, I don't want to hear nothing else about your business. And I'm like, okay, fine then. I don't want to hear nothing about your freaking cars either. Then that means if I can't talk about what I'm passionate about, that means you can't talk about what you're passionate about. So if you don't want me to talk about my business, I don't want to hear nothing about your car. And they're like, well, maybe we don't want that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, then people will tell you can't do something. Okay, well, fine. Then that goes for everybody. But I will tell you, when we got up from that conversation that day, I was very clear on what my job was. And I made a commitment that every day when I was there, that I would not do my business. I would not do my church work. I would not try to do things for my family. But what I would do is during that 8 to 4:30, I started taking a lunch, which I had never done before. I was scheduled to take a lunch, but because I was doing so much, I worked through it. And I'm going to tell y'all, prior to me starting my business, my ego was really stroked when people said, if you need a job done, go give it to Sumter and she'll do it. I love the feeling of finishing a job. And I love gathering up a team to cross over the finish line. I love to give credit to other people. But I will tell you that it was a pride issue. And I've told you all that before. My biggest area of weakness, my chink in my armor, my greatest sins are going to be combined with pride. And the challenge with pride is that it looks really good to everybody else, but it is emotionally exhausting to be the go-to person. It's emotionally exhausting to be the one that gets the job done, because then it's not just what you do, it becomes who you are. And then it's almost impossible to say no to. And then one day you wake up and you're doing everybody's job, but you're not doing a good job at any of those. And then what really gets sacrificed on the altar of pride are the relationships that are the most important. For me personally, is my relationship with Christ, and my family. They got the leftovers because I was getting up earlier and earlier, and I was staying later and later. And I was getting all these accolades from the Pentagon and my commander who worked out of there. And it was almost like I was a puppet and they just played me. Now, I don't think that they were smart enough or that they were mean enough that that was their intention, but that I made the whole division look good. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? And that really, why would they do it? Because not only did, if they didn't assign it to me, and this is embarrassing to share, but then I would come in and redo it and make it better. So they might put together a letter as we were designing computer and telephone systems, but then I would come in and I would make it look better. But in my pride of wanting something to look good, what happened was no different than if I went in and reloaded the dishes or refolded the clothes, or I went in and redid Samantha's bed. What I'm saying to people is that you're not good enough. That wasn't my intention anymore. It was for their intention for me to work overtime. I created that myself. And that when people were around me, that they did not feel empowered. They felt like that they just kind of worked for me. And that wasn't even how it was designed to do. And that wasn't even my intention. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? I'm watching here. How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? Like if you look at your life in the desire to be a woman of excellence, that we're not empowering people around us, that we are built on pride of doing a good job. And so, and again, what gets sacrificed is the most important relationships. So when we decided what our jobs were, it did clear up my time of that I really could leave at 4:30, unless our system was down. And if that was the case, I just had to stay for a week, whatever it took. If our system was down, it had to do that, but on a normal day-to-day basis. However, the biggest battle was not with my coworkers. The biggest battle was within, that I didn't start taking those back because I knew I could do it better. Where's my control freaks? When I started my business, I had to get help in my business because, again, me putting together goodie bags or mirrors or packets did not build my relationship with the Lord, my family, or my key people. The problem was what? My thought was, I could do it myself. I could do it better. So my assistants, I have several assistants. They're like, get your hands out of this. I will do this, right? I do like to check over things. You know, I just think things do need a fresh eye, grammar wise, to do things. But it is so important that whenever we give something away, that we let them run with it, and that it's okay that it's not perfect, that yes, maybe you could have done it better, but as Pam Shaw always talks about, time spent in one place takes away from another. Okay, great. Okay, here we got some people on here. Marcy says, sounds like my hubby before he retired. Sonia, been there, done that. Total burnout. That is so true. Allison, everything about this is speaking to my soul. Okay, great. Totally correct. You don't have to say no to everything or to certain things, right? You don't have to do it all well. So again, coming back to number 3 on this, that in order for us to win the day, win the week, win the month, we have to know what is enough and what is it that only we can do and what are the smartest things. Because there's a lot of things I can do in my business. There's a lot of conversations that I can have, but there's only about 8 or 10 of them that is going to create the growth that I'm called to produce in order to reach the goals that I want. And if I'm not really careful, I'm going to spend my day doing a lot of good things, but they're not the best things, which leads into, I believe, one of the best books ever written by Lisa TerKeurst that is called The Best Yes. So whenever I added in my business in this midst of this really busy life of mine, it was busy. It wasn't effective. It was busy, because busy meant that I was in demand, which did what? Stroke my ego, which was the pride issue. Like, it just always comes back to that. And so, you know what? And y'all that don't understand that, you got your own issues. Like, we all have got our things. Some of y'all are addictions. Some of you all, well, I'm not going to get into all the things could be, but everybody knows what your thing is. And so, what I had to learn how to do was how to say no in a way that didn't offend somebody who was thoughtful enough to ask me to do something. We talked a lot about this when we went through my book, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. But I realized that people came to me because they knew if I took it on, it was going to get done. The problem was that they weren't going to get my best yes, because I'm already doing these other things. So Lisa TerKeurst taught in her book to be able to say, oh my gosh, I am so honored that you asked me. However, it is not my best yes in this season. And you deserve someone that could give it their all. I've got an idea of a couple people that you might want to ask. Okay. So again, learning how to say no in a very respectful way is a good thing, because what's going to happen is that person is going to ask somebody else that's not in demand, and they're going to be able to shine. Do you see, by you not doing everything, then you give those around you permission to shine. And how much attention are you giving? Like, whenever something happens good in my office, I like to give my assistants, credit for that. When my area does something, I want them to get the credit for it. And so my job is to give my job away, so that if something happens physically, whatever, in our family, that this thing keeps building, whether I'm there to run it or not. So that's why we want to be able to do that. I also think that it is really important that we're very careful what we say we will do. We want to under promise and over deliver. So when you start saying yes to something, or, oh, I'll send you that, which is my tendency, then you're like, crap, why did I do that? Because now I got to go look it up. And I need to get it out, because I want to be known as a woman of my word. And the minute I don't follow through with something, with a lot of people, because of a really large organization, I don't have an emotional bank deep enough for me not to follow through. So that's why we need to create a new crease in our brain of, instead of, oh yeah, I'll send that, is, okay, well, here's where you can go look that up. If you can't find it for whatever reason, here, check with my assistant, or check with your recruiter, or check over here. And if you've exhausted all of those, come back, and together we'll find that. But you need to make sure you're not the go-to person. I created a lot of weak leaders initially, and I recruited a lot of followers, because again, coming back to the pride thing, I was known as the wizard, that I had all the answers. The reason that people that came in at the same time as me and have really built much larger organizations, they were not more skilled, more talent, or had more ability. What they had was a stronger self-esteem, that they didn't need to be needed. Am I stepping on some toes out there? And at every level of my business, I again took a lot of pride in having the answers or getting it done or creating this amazing event. And all those things were good things, but it doesn't build a large organization. And then nobody wants your job because you're all things to all people. Like if people don't want your job, especially you, and if you're not a hero in your own home, which is the most important place to be, then something's not right. So if you have to have all the answers and you've got to be the one who does all of that, I just kicked off a challenge to my area for our people to do their own sharing appointments. Why? Because these are smart women. They can figure out how to share about Mary Kay. And I think very often as leaders that we want it kind of run through us because we want to be the hero. Maybe not out loud, but when we start thinking I can do that better than them, when it's very easy to do, what you're doing is setting yourself up for burnout, for exhaustion, for only attracting followers. Because if you get a thoroughbred alpha female, she's not going to come in up under your umbrella where you got to do it all because she's already successful. And what happens is in your desire to train, in your unintentional desire to be the person, you push away all of your independent thinkers. That was the greatest gift that my director gave me. I never wanted to see a party. I never wanted to see a sharing session. I never wanted to see a coaching session. And she never made me. She just let me do my own thing. She let me make all my own mistakes. She let me do that. My main mentor, she knew that if I called her, I didn't really want the answer. So she'd ask me, what do you think you're going to do? What have you already done in that? And she would find what I was doing right and build on that. Every once in a while, I'd be off the reservation and she'd be like, well, all right, well, let's kind of talk through, tell me how you came to that decision. Well, those are the kind of leaders that are great. And there are people, most of the leaders in our world are the best leaders. They're not the most charismatic. They're not like me. They're not the loud people because I have the answers. And I have to tell you, I have to be very disciplined not to tell people what to do. And when I'm coaching people, I'll be like, tell me what you think you should do. Like my first instinct is to give the answers, but that's not coaching, that's telling. That's not mentoring, that's mothering. And if you want to attract high quality type A people, they have to have permission to do it their own way, to put their DNA on that. Now, I believe that you got to have a strong foundation and they got to understand the why. But at the end of the day, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to give our jobs away, whether you're talking a nonprofit, a ministry, a business, whatever that is. So when you're talking about winning the day, winning the month, then that means that you got to be clear on what you're doing. Now, I think one of the best ways to do that is for people to shadow you, have them watch you do it, and then have them set up somebody and then you watch them do it, so that they are strong enough to be able to go out there. Number 5 is the self-coaching in this. Okay, good. Totally correct. When you don't say no to everything or certain things, you won't do it all well. Wow, you all are doing a great job on here. Good. We need the guidance to learn, but then we have to learn how to do it ourselves. That is true, Rachel Shatney. That's exactly right. That's what you do all day long. Well, in my quiet time, I'm reading this book by Stephen Furtick. If you notice, I have about 5 books going all the time. But this book, Teresa Huntley told me about this. And when we're talking about this self-coaching, what I want you to remember is that whenever you're working through this, make sure I got the right one. Okay. So he talks about in this to ask yourself, like when you're trying to design your day, when you're self-coaching, to think about what would I do if I already had 2,000 people, or if I had a lot of people in ministry in my group, or if I had a lot of people working in my nonprofit, right? So what I want you to do is to take a minute and think about this goal that you have. Like, how many people would that take? What would that look like, right? Because you got to live in your winner story. What is your life going to look like when you're at that position? So you can fall in love with the work, even the mundane, mediocre work. Like you want to fall in love with the day that creates, not just the stage moment, right? Not just the moment on stage that you're debuting, or the moment that you reach your goals, or this ministry is working. It is falling in love with the day. that it takes to create that, right? So that means there's certain things that need to happen. You got to find a way to do that. And I love in this book, he says, what would you do if you did not have the limitation, the obstacle, the giant standing in your path? Then do whatever you can to head in that direction, even if it's a tiny step. Even if you don't know what you're going to do when you get there, do the thing you would do if you knew that God was making a way forward. That's what commitment to progress is. Do the thing that you would do. Don't wait. Do whatever you can. Do whatever, however small. If he talks about that, this is so good. He talks about the recipe for staying stuck is waiting for the conditions to be perfect. He goes on to say, you're not stuck unless you stop. I'm going to say that again. You're not stuck unless you stop. The point is that you can't jump to being dramatic, generalized conclusions about yourself every time you go through challenges or make mistakes. Maybe you set a goal in our world to do a power start or to step up the career path and you didn't make it. Quit beating yourself up. You're not stuck unless you keep talking about how stuck you are. You're only as stuck as you want to. And he talks about bouncing back. How do you bounce back? Well, number one, you don't stop. You just keep learning. It's a lesson or you're learning. That's number 6 in this, right? How do you self-coach? You self-coach and find out what is the next step that I could do? What is my job description? What is the one thing I can master? What's the next thing I can master? You just keep moving in the general direction of where it is that you want to go. And you're working with an attitude of gratitude. Be willing to be inconvenienced for success is number 7. How willing are you to spend the mirror time to master that conversation, to master that presentation, to master that? Like, so, we just want everything easy and we want to quit whenever it's not good. I just love what he's saying in here. He said, remember, he says, so there are some habits and immaturities that you need to leave behind. If your past is you've quit all the time or you've chased something else shiny, right? You'll never get to your calling. You're going to be good at a lot of little things, but you'll never be great in your calling. So you just keep moving. Don't quit. Keep moving forward, but be a woman of your word, especially in the promises that you've made to yourself. If you know how to do a power start, like in our world, which is putting the product on 30 faces and sharing with those same, like doing it all, then do it. Quit making excuses. Quit. No, you probably don't know who those are, but the people that are just outside of your comfort zone, those are the people that's been orchestrated to talk to you, not the easy ones, the ones that are hard to talk to, the ones you wouldn't normally think of. That's where you start working, right? And be inconvenienced in your ability to stay comfortable. You got to be courageous, right? You don't want to be busy. You want to be efficient. So as we wrap up today, right, we want to erase all of those jobs that are not yours. You want to erase those conversations that you're having that I'm not enough. I love where he talks about this, that you are enough. And he says, you are so much more than whatever you think you are missing, right? You're not the quitter. You're not the one that missed the goal. You're not lazy. You're not that. You are not that, unless you keep saying it, right? Because you are handmade by God. You are the handiwork of the divine. God made you on purpose. Because again, you are much more than what you think is missing. Your lack cannot label you. I'm going to say that again. Your lack cannot label you. Thank you, Stephen Furtick, for this book. Your deficiency does not define you. Your need does not get to name you. You are defined by the one who created you, right? The one who chose you. You have nothing to prove, no one to impress, no one to fear. He values you. He loves you. He fills you. He empowers you. So this calling on your life, everything that is happening is good because it's refining your character to match your calling. Sparkle sisters, what is it that you've been unwilling to do? Take the tiny step forward. Take the tiny step forward in the direction of your dream every single day. Do one thing that scares you. Make one call that is uncomfortable. Do one thing that is inconvenience. Make sure that you are truly living out your best life, falling in love with the activity that it takes to get you to where you're called. Because together we're too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed, too equipped to be whipped. Next week, I can't wait for you to meet our Lion Chaser girlfriends. Okay, bye bye, y'all. Have a great week.